All right, I'm Jeff Ford from the YouTube show Auto Resto-Mod, and we're here with Mike Eaton from Eaton Detroit Spring to kind of give you guys some tips on things you need to know about your leaf springs. So Mike, should I re-arch my springs?
9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, springs aren't worth re-arching. The only springs out there that you even want to give any consideration to re-arch would be the springs, the rear springs off of a straight axle Corvette, the C1s. That's because they had a groove down the center of the steel in the back. That steel is no longer made. So if that car is a high point restoration car, high point show car, it's worth re-arching.
Now you guys handle re-arching as well, am I correct? In other
Oh,
words,
yes.
if the guy wants to have his original Corvette springs redone, you guys can actually handle
Oh
it.
yes, there's only one correct way to re-arch a spring, and that is you have to anneal the steel, reheat it so the heat treatment's taken right out of it, reform it, reshape it to the OE specs, and then reheat treat it.
So I can only assume after what you've just said that it's probably really financially, normally, not advisable to do that.
That's why we recommend don't bother re-arching your old spring.
Right,
It's much
very
more
good.
expensive to re-arch a spring than it is to just buy a new one.
All right, Mike, so now that I've decided to not re-arch my springs because it's horribly expensive, how do I know what I need to get?
You need to call us. We're going to ask you a series of questions. We're going to ask you the year, the make, the model, the body style, the engine size, and any and all modification made on that car. And we're going to go to our specs, which we have someplace close to 200,000 different applications. And we're going to find the right spring that goes on that car, and we're going to make you that spring.
So in other words, if I've got, let's say, a 69 Camaro and I'm putting a 454 in it, it was originally a 350 car, I'm putting a 454 in it, and I'm doing a 5-speed and all these other modifications, you need that information in order to make the spring correct for that car.
We need that information. That is correct. Springs, unlike any other part of the car, are specific to the car. It's not a headlight, it's not a windshield wiper, it's not a doorknob. Spring support weight, springs control, the power of the engine. We need to know that information to get you the right spring.
And that was the case even back in the factory too, because whenever a car came with air conditioning, power steering, disc brakes, all those things were factored in at the factory whenever they were putting the springs on the car, correct?
You're exactly right. Went as far as even the cloth material used on the rear bench seats of a Camaro dictated and required a different spring.
Wow. So, you know, I would have never thought that. I wouldn't have thought that it would have made that much difference. So the guy really needs to kind of be sure about what he's doing when he orders the spring, because if he decides to change in midstream and do something different, say, with the rear axle in the car, maybe going with a heavier rear axle, that's actually going to change what will happen with the rear springs or even the front springs on the car.
Or the front springs. The car currently has a 302 small block in it, and someday I'm going to put a 427 in it, or I'm thinking about it. We need to know that because you got a couple hundred different pound difference in weight.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good to know. All right, so I'm going to be putting a super duper over the top engine in the car. Do you guys need to know that information as well? In other words, I'm going super high performance.
You're going super high performance. We need to know that because we're starting with the OEM blueprint, the OEM design, and that OEM blueprint is not designed to handle a super duper 500 horsepower car. You're going to get axle wind up, squatting problems up the yin yang. We can take care of that. You give us that information, we can design you a special performance spring. If it's not in our list of special performance springs we have designed already, we can custom design a spring and make it for you.
So in other words, that's the case. In other words, I'm going out and I'm doing all these custom things to the car. Once again, in that application, you still need to know all the information about what the guy's doing. But if there's nothing in your catalog, because you guys are the end manufacturer, you go from soup to nuts on it. You have the steel come in one end, the spring come out the other. The guy wants to be able to custom design a spring for his car. You guys can handle that as well.
That is correct.
Awesome. Well, Mike, I appreciate you taking some time to talk to us about the spring setups, the rear springs, and the front springs a little bit on this. If you guys have any kind of questions, go out to their website, www.eatonsprings.com.